Well, for Indian professionals who have spent years waiting for a US green card, the latest Visa Bulletin, it brings a painful message. Patience is still required. That's right, September 2026 Visa Bulletin shows serious pressure in several employment-based categories for Indian applicants. According to the reports, EB-2 India is listed as unavailable, while EB-5 unreserved for India is also unavailable for final action. EB-1 India remains at October 15, 2022, while EB-3 India remains at January 1st, 2014. Now, the word unavailable, that can sound confusing. It does not necessarily mean that your entire green card application has been rejected. No. It means that the government has exhausted the available visa numbers for that particular category for the remainder of the fiscal year. And that is why September becomes such an important month. The US government operates on a fiscal year that ends on September 30. Then, on October 1st, a new fiscal year begins and new visa allocation that becomes available. So for many applicants, there is a strange combination of bad news and cautious hope. The bad news, visa number has exhausted, and the possible relief, well, a new fiscal year is around the corner. But yes, even that does not magically erase the backlog. Well, the report also warns of potential pressure on EB-1 India, worldwide EB-2 and EB-5 categories because of high demand. And this is where immigration paperwork that becomes a race against time. There are two different charts applicants need to understand here. Dates for filing and final action dates. One determines whether certain paperwork can be submitted. The other one determines when a green card can actually be approved. Well, that distinction can be critical. For Indian applicants, specifically those who have spent years building their career in the United States, the green card, it's not just an immigration document. It can determine whether they can stay permanently, whether their children can grow up without immigration uncertainty, and most importantly, whether they can plan their careers and lives without constantly checking the next visa bulletin. For years, the H-1B system became one of the main bridges connecting Indian technology talent with American companies. Now that bridge is facing new scrutiny. The Department of Homeland Security has submitted a proposed rule targeting several areas of H-1B program. Among them are tighter restrictions involving cap-exempt employer, greater scrutiny of companies with previous H-1B compliance violation, and increased oversight of foreign workers employed at the third-party work sites here. And that third-party issue, it is particularly important for the Indian IT industry. For years, staffing companies and consulting firms have placed foreign professionals at the premises of American client. Well, that model became a major part of the technology ecosystem. An Indian engineer, it could technically be employed by one company but spend their working day at another company's office. And now, according to the report, DHS wants much stronger verification of those arrangements. Who is actually supervising the worker? Where does the worker physically work? What exactly are they doing? And can the employer prove that the job being performed matches what was stated in the H-1B petition? Well, those questions could become much more important. Here the proposed changes also target what are known as cap-exempt employers, including certain university-affiliated organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, the report also points to a proposed supplemental fee of more than $103,000 for certain cap-subject petition, certainly under review. Now, think about what this really means from the employer's perspective. If hiring a foreign professional, that becomes more expensive, more complicated, more heavily audited, companies may start asking a very simple question. Is this hire worth the additional cost and compliance burden? And you know what? That is where immigration policy that meets the labor market here. Because an H-1B is not simply a document. It is tied to a job, an employer, and a specific set of responsibilities. In the meantime, for Indian tech professionals, the biggest message is that third parties' placement arrangements, well, they may face much greater scrutiny if these proposals become final.